The meeting and public hearing of the City of Falls Church Planning Commission for Monday, June 2nd, 2014 is now in session. Ms. G, would you please call the roll? And before you do, what is his name? Mr. Meeks is downstairs at the City Council meeting, and he may be up afterwards.
Thank you.
I'm glad somebody else does.
Mr. John?
Present.
Ms. Hockenberry?
Here.
Mr. Rankin?
Here.
Ms. Rogers?
Here.
Ms. Teets? Here. Mr. Wodiska?
Here.
Thank you.
I'd like to hear a motion for the adoption of the agenda for this evening.
So move.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
This agenda for this evening is adopted. We'll move on to receipt of petitions from the audience. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who would like to speak on something other than what is on the agenda? Seeing no one, we'll move on to new business. And our first order of new business is subdivision of 600 Abbott Lane into two lots. Ms. G, I see that you've done the staff report on that. Do you have anything you'd like to present to us?
Yes, please.
Hey, that's cool stuff. Oops.
The property owner of 600 Abbott Lane has applied for a subdivision application. The parcel currently contains a historic house protected under the city's HHC overlay district. The proposal is to leave a lot containing the historic house at approximately 23,228 square feet, and to create a second buildable lot of approximately 12,434 feet. We had some technical difficulties when we referred the plat to Fairfax County for their review. It went to both Fairfax Water and to the county's Department of Public Works and Environmental Services. Unfortunately, the person from the county's Department of Public Works did not log in the plat when they received it, and provided comments via an email, which were not very clear. A citizen who lives next to the subject property was concerned that she had not received a property owner notice. I'm not sure why that didn't happen. That address was certainly on the list of people to be notified. There was some concern about if a new house is built on the second lot, that a number of trees would have to be removed and that the house might be too close to this adjacent neighbor's house. I did speak with representatives from Fairfax County late Friday and learned that, as stated in the staff report, the county portion of the parcel is zoned R4, and there is a minimum side yard setback of 10 feet in the county should a house be built on the parcel to be created. There are some instructions in terms of if the Planning Commission approves the subdivision plat tonight. Once that has been done, the property owner needs to record that information with Arlington County and to provide deed book and page information before the Planning Commission chair signs the plat for the final approval.
Okay, thank you. Do we have the applicants with us?
Yes.
Would you like to say anything about your application? I mean, it can stand on its own if you wanted to, but I'm giving you that opportunity.
Mr. Turner, at the microphone, if you would press the push button, it will turn that mic on.
And identify yourself and give your address, please.
My name is Mark Turner. I'm the owner of 600 Abbott, my wife, Annie Turner.
Okay.
It's our intention to obviously apply for subdivision, but to keep the historic property intact, hopefully in perpetuity. I've talked to someone at Fairfax to maybe put a historic easement on about that. The historic property is very important to us. the parcel that we've carved off, our intention is, we're a builder. It's the way I make our living, is to do a very small, modest house on this property because it's in keeping with the historical structure, and do it in good taste. And I think we have a pretty good track record of doing things in good taste. And obviously we want to be sensitive to the neighbors' concerns and their view shed and the impact that'll have. So we've spoken with the neighbors, and I know they're concerned about the development, which is valid. And you have my word that we'll work with them to do something thoughtful here in respect of the historic context of the house and Falls Church. Thank you.
Are there any questions of the applicant? Thank you. For the applicant? No, for staff? Well, why don't we save our questions for staff until we see if there are any people in the audience who would like to speak. Okay, I'm going to open this item to the public, and we have one petition slip, or speaker slip that has been presented, and it is from Cynthia Dunbar. Would you like to come forward, please? If you'll
Do
identify
I still
yourself.
have to push it? No?
Yeah, just, that's fine.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Cynthia Dunbar, and I live at 601 Abbott Lane in Fairfax County. I am most likely the person most affected by this subdivision, and I have some concerns. The concerns were detailed in my letter to the Planning Commission and to Ms. G on May 29th. They are, first, the aesthetics. Since 1998, the view from my kitchen window and porch has been green, bushes and trees and grass across the back of the now Turner property all the way to the house on Laura Drive. It will be altered to a proposed house. And from the plans I've seen, which were on Memorial Day shown to me by Mr. Turner, there was a blank wall with 2 windows and a door facing the east side of my house, through which I see the sun every day. 3, and most important, is the issue of runoff. Mr. Turner's property is higher than mine, and I have a current issue with water when heavy rains occur. The loss of trees, bushes, and grass will exacerbate this issue along the side of my home and in the front, unless extreme care is taken to control the water. Additionally, I have a tulip poplar just inside the property line, and I'm very concerned about damage to the roots of the tree and that there would be subsequent decline and perhaps it may die. It is my request to Mr. Turner and my hope that he will have some consideration for the aesthetics of the house he plans to build and its surroundings, and will factor in some trees or mitigate the impact on the loss of sun and green and space. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Dunbar. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on this? Seeing no one, yes?
Chair Rogers, I would like to point out for the record that you received 2 items tonight at the dais. One was from the County of Fairfax, saying that they had reviewed the plat submitted by the Turners and had no comments, that basically all of the property is located within the city of Falls Church. And then there's a second, a copy of an email from Kate Downey at 615 Laura Drive, indicating that she could not attend tonight's meeting, but she has several concerns. She believes that there are errors on the tree survey, which is indeed correct. The first submission of the tree survey had a number of errors. The applicant updated that with his tree contractor. There are still a few errors that need to be resolved that staff has agreed to resolve at the time a grading plan is submitted with an updated tree survey. Further, Ms. Downey says there are a number of plants near the corner of her property, and why hasn't it been verified by the city arborist that certain trees should not be removed? Unfortunately, during the time that the staff was reviewing this application, we did not have a staff city attorney. We were working with a contract attorney, a contract arborist who had limited hours to review plans. But that arborist, Ed Millis, I believe many of you are familiar with him, has approved the tree removals, noting that those updates on the tree survey need to be done. And Ms. Downey goes on to say that it was her understanding that the property was not eligible for subdivision based on the slope, the street access, and general configuration. The City of Falls Church prides itself on being a Tree City USA, but the proposal would remove 24 healthy trees and bushes. And she understands that they will be replaced with 13 new trees that will take 20 years to mature and to provide a tree canopy. Further, that the City of Falls Church recently instituted a new tax, the stormwater fee, based on the amount of water runoff from a particular property. And so she wanted to know how this would coincide with allowing the drastic leveling and building on this severely sloped property.
Thank you, Ms. G. I noticed that Ms. Dunbar said that she had sent a letter, but we don't have that.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay. No, but I mean, did we get a letter? Oh, okay. So it was good that you came, Ms. Dunbar. All right, are there questions from the Planning Commission? Lindy?
Mine was about the tree survey.
Okay. Andy?
I have just, and maybe I'm just being dense, but on, like on the photograph one, you see this lot, but it seems like this house straddles the line. And so I guess my question is, are we looking at just the part that's in the city getting subdivided, and therefore what we see here is not or I don't know if this is actually the lot or what, but this line is the border of the city, so that's why the subdivision is just in the city. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It shows it in both of them.
right.
And the black dotted or dashed line is the
City border.
city and the county.
Okay.
So the property owner owns a significant parcel inside the city and a smaller piece of land in Fairfax County.
And does another house straddle that piece of land? And is there an easement to that?
So I could not find that information. I saw that in the
You know the answer.
developed these maps, and he was basing it on.
I think she knows the answer.
Yes.
The red line crosses my house.
Right.
So does your house have an easement on that property?
The red line's wrong, is what you're saying.
Oh,
But, I mean, the picture, I don't know, the picture shows your house right up against the city-county line, so that's the part that's a little bit confusing, is I don't even know if the black line is right, then I can't see how any of this lot could be in Fairfax County. I don't know if it matters for our decision, it's just confusing
well,
me trying to.
it does matter because I mean,
It's just confusing me.
I don't see how we can approve a subdivision that is inaccurately presented. Sure.
I mean, because it's reflected here too, right?
I guess one question would be this 12,434 square feet, is that entirely that lot in the city, or is that lot included in the Fairfax County portion? Because if it includes the Fairfax County portion, then it is an issue.
Yeah.
Well, Fairfax has ruled that 2,461 are in their county in this letter. So
Right.
they're acknowledging some portion, and I don't know
Right.
what portion that is.
Well, right now, that portion on the maps we have show a house in it.
Yeah, no, I'm confused.
It's not just a picture.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, if it's 12,000 on the other side, then maybe the Fairfax County slice doesn't mean anything, but there's a real problem here. Well, I guess the problem with the subdivision is it doesn't show where the county city line is, the papers you've given us, and
It
it,
does, actually, now I'm looking at it.
where, okay.
Really faint.
The data down.
This whole
on-
thing must be wrong.
Well,
Here, this line.
one of the concerns I have is it doesn't show the
Oh, that's the
footprint
other
of the, well, the house will
Looking at
be.
the other map.
It's really. I see
So it shows it on the second page of this plat.
on the first page.
Yeah, let's see.
It's really faint.
One page shows and one doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, the tree survey page doesn't.
Okay.
The other does. Okay,
So I
so
think
the
this
Fairfax
thing is
County
wrong. I
part
think the
is
line
in the
actually-
other
I
lot,
think
the
this-
12,000 square foot lot, lot 2.
Yeah, so this line must be wrong here, it must be,
There's something really wrong with this map.
Yeah, see, because see where this is? This is this county line.
Right, I see. So is this supposed to be over here, like also shifted somehow?
Well, yes, I'm sorry. I think it's over to, I think it's all over on the other lot.
But as part of the Fairfax County property, what makes the 12,000 square foot lot? Yeah, because to get the right lot size for an R1A, you have to have that Fairfax County piece in there, correct? Yeah, so it's a problem for us is to see this visual map where there's a house on that piece.
The GIS maps are general, and particularly when you get
See,
to a
this is
city-county
this is
line,
the
they're
property line.
not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so this is the way you go up to the other property, and then this
Right.
is the way you go.
So this is going to be kind of the back of, back of the other.
Yeah. That's what it looks like. Ms. G, my question is, could some of these concerns as far as runoff and the tree survey, or the corrections to the tree survey, and the setback being 10 feet instead of 15 feet, which is what we require as opposed to what they require, can all of those things be addressed at site plan? Or a grading plan? But we don't do the grading plan. That's correct. Right. Yeah, and my concern is that the Seabird process hasn't always helped the neighbors with runoff. Because we've had many hearings where people have come in saying that they've had more runoff. I don't know.
I'm also concerned that there wasn't any letter going out to the neighborhood? Did I
Oh, just
hear
one
that?
person didn't
Just
get
one
it.
person, okay.
That was you? Oh, dear.
Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Approximately what is the degree of this slope that is running into the 601 property?
I don't know, but to good degrees, it's pretty steep.
It's steep, it's a very steep slope. I just don't have any perspective from these photographs or from the plat.
There's some topo lines here, if you can,
It's about, looks about like a 19-foot drop from the edge of the cul-de-sac.
Well, I know that the house that's there kind of sits up at the top of the
Sits
slope.
up, yeah.
our intention, just to, on both the watershed issue, our company does very small footprint houses. We build our homes much different than a traditional home. So we try to do piers where we can so the home sits on lightly on the earth, and so you don't have to move as much dirt. And then a steel chassis, and it's modular, and so it comes in, and the impact on the dirt and the site is much less than a traditional home. And for water runoff, we've built the first carbon neutral houses in Fairfax County and Capitol Hill. We're very sensitive about water and energy and sustainability in general. Our company's focus is sustainability. And we've done lots of different things with waters and cisterns and to make sure that the site runoff, green roofs, is adequately handled. And we will address that at the grading plan situation.
Right.
As far as the tree report goes, there were some errors in our original tree submission that we acknowledged. The tree commission report was not given to the tree commission on January, so they brought in Ed Millhouse. And I would say that it was Ed's first job as a contract arborist, so he was requiring things that, in our opinion, we went through 3 or 4 different submissions on the tree stuff, because it communicated to us that the tree information was critically important, and we want to protect as many trees as we can through the practices of our construction and the house footprint and all that. We're tree folks ourselves. But recently, the tree commission met last week, and they didn't provide the right information that we said that was so important to get to. They provided the old information.
Right,
So
right. I was there, yeah.
they weren't given the correct information that we provided, and he's asking for 2-inch trees around the entire site, which we did, but he's also asking us to put trees on other people's property on the report. It didn't even impact this development. So we did everything he said that he wanted us to do and some, and then that information wasn't given to the tree commission. So that's some of the
Oh,
comments.
I see, okay. Well, I know what that's like because I subdivided my lot and we had to identify trees that were on adjacent properties because of the canopy and because of the root, so that we didn't hurt the roots of those trees. So
These trees were
it's just
600.
something that's in code, and that every homeowner or every property owner who wants to subdivide has to do that. So I'm glad you and the arborist came to an agreement. Any further questions? Yes.
Just a quick comment. I'm worried that we're being asked to approve this without a whole lot of information. I was looking for more information on this, and so the question that I have for staff is, do we get to see this again after we approve this?
No?
The final plat will come back to the chair for signature before it is recorded in the land records. And then there will be a hearing, a Seabird hearing, where neighbors will be notified. That is a public meeting. It would not come formally back to the planning commission. Your action would be to consider the subdivision.
Yeah, because
It doesn't, it would not have a formal site plan. Individual residential homes go through that Seabird process, which is detailed, but it would not come back to the planning commission per se, no.
Can I ask you specifically what information you'd be asking for?
yeah, I'm just, with all the questions that I had going around, it seemed as if there's some confusion about, where the building sits, where the lot line is, what part of the building is in Fairfax County. I mean, I don't see any of that clearly shown on this site plan. Unless I'm missing something in here.
I would say it appears that the building would be 15 feet from the property line, which is 5 feet greater than the Fairfax County requirement. They would need to meet, I believe, from a zoning point of view, the city's requirement.
But Jim, if the property line runs through the other house,
I think that's simply an error of a GIS. You're on this borderline, it's a general picture, and our maps are not accurate. The plats are accurate, these are surveyed, certified by surveyors. So we were trying to give you an orientation map, and we're trying to give you more information so you can see what's down there, but the line, the Fairfax County and the city line in that GIS picture is not correct.
but the homeowner for 601 testified that her property, her house is cut through by this Fairfax County line.
In the picture, not in reality in terms of this plat. In other words, there is a defined boundary line that's part of her surveyed property. And there is this additional sliver of Fairfax County that is part of this property, which is proposed to be.
So that's not shown, the additional sliver?
The sliver, you can see it on the survey. There's a dotted line on the one that shows the house.
Right.
And that line has that sliver of the city and the county, and it gets narrower as you get towards the subdivision, gets a little wider as you get out to the end.
But if the adjoining house goes over that, well, that would be impossible.
No, I'm just, our
Yeah.
GIS maps are incorrect in terms of depicting those locations. They're general, and they're not showing the parcel lines per se.
May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Turner, do you have any idea of the percent coverage that your new home is going to have, including driveway?
It's within the allowable amount. I don't know the exact number.
Well, the allowable amount is 25%.
I know.
Oh,
Everybody is going smack up against the 30.
yeah.
Just thought I'd ask.
Okay, are there further questions? Russ? Further question? Okay, Melissa? Did you want to make a comment?
Do you want to make it now or after we do a motion? I was going to comment after.
Okay, well, we have to have a motion. Lindy, would you like to make the motion, please? There are three motions proposed. You can pick which one you'd like.
With a dart or without? Okay.
And Mr. John, if you feel as though you don't have enough information to vote intelligently on this, then, I mean, you know, feel
I think
free
in
to
this
move to
case-
continue or to move to deny. You know, it's up to you how you vote on this. I mean, we're not going to
Well,
force you to vote on something that you don't feel adequately prepared.
do I have the option to abstain?
You do.
Okay, good. Then I can take that option.
Okay, then I move that the Planning Commission approve the subdivision plat for 600 Abbott Lane dated 2/2014 as presented, with the understanding that the applicant or a successive owner provide an updated amended tree survey, which I guess we have, or when a grading plan is submitted for development of Lot 2 as defined on the plat.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the subdivision plat for 600 Abbott Lane. I'm wondering if there's any condition that we can put on there about the Siebert evaluation and the runoff. I know that we can't force them to look at it any differently than they do, but I would really be interested in having them be very concerned, since the lot is so, so sloped.
Can we at least maybe send comments on to Siebert that,
Yes.
that we're very concerned about the topography of this lot? And in places, it's much higher than the neighboring property.
I mean, I don't think we can, because this is, the two lots are the right size, it's kind of a by right subdivision, so I don't see how we can not approve it. But on the other hand, we do have some concerns, and particularly having to do with runoff, and so maybe we could draft something and send it to Siebert after the meeting, if that's okay.
That would be fine. I can note in the synopsis of tonight's meeting that you do have concerns about the topography creating water runoff, and that you strongly advise that the Siebert require mitigation efforts or something like that.
Yeah, and you know, to make sure that not too many trees are cut down, that type of thing.
Well, from what I count, there's 11 trees and the rest are bushes. There's 24 total, but I think I hit all the, you know, as far as what I consider non-junk trees.
Yeah.
Chair Rogers,
Yes.
would you like to clarify your statement of not removing too many trees?
Oh,
What's it-
no.
Okay.
No, not right now.
Because I tell you, when those trees come down, you know, with my situation next door to me, it's just a massive mess,
Yeah.
just a mess.
I'll comment
Okay,
on my concerns in the letter to Siebert,
very good, thank you.
but I don't want to just make them up right now. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve a subdivision plan for 600 Abbott Lane. Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to just make a few comments. Last night, when I was reading through the material for today's meeting, I just felt sad, because when it comes to these kind of subdivisions, we really can't deny them unless there's a true legal reason to deny them. And in most cases, you know, it's a by, like Mrs. Rogers said, it's a by right, pretty much. If they have the right size lots, we pretty much can't stop that subdivision. And so while I have to vote yes because there's no legal reason I can deny the subdivision, I just want to say it does sadden me. It saddens me that people choose to buy historic homes and that they're more concerned with profit than they are in keeping the historic setting of the home intact as possible. This property has been chipped away and chipped away over and over again, and it just makes me very sad to have to vote yes on it. It's just a loss for the city. We lose pervious surface, we lose mature trees, we lose green space. We have a historic house that doesn't have as natural of a setting now, with mature trees, as many mature trees around it. And in the end, there is no economic gain to the city whatsoever of a single-family home. We just, because of the way services are, there's no economic gain. Any new single-family home in the city ends up costing the city more than we receive in taxes. And I say this because I have builders tell me this over and over again. I'm investing in your city. You'll get more tax revenue from the single-family home. But it's factual that single-family homes don't bring profit to a city. Commercial development does, mixed use does, single-family homes do not. And so all I see is loss for the city, loss for the setting of this historic home, and it really does make me sad.
Thanks, Melissa. Any further comments? Linda?
I agree with Melissa, because I think that, you know, we still have to somehow get that message out that the single-family home, you know, just doesn't bring in the taxes that, you know, all the other and that is a beautiful, beautiful area over there. You know, I've been up in that area for quite a few times with some other people lived up there. So, you know, with the significant trees that are coming down.
Well, if there are no further comments by commissioners, Ms. G, would you please call the roll on this motion?
Yes. Ms. Hockenberry?
Yes.
Mr. Rankin?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Teets?
Yes.
Mr. Bodiska?
Yes.
Mr. John?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Motion carries. We'll proceed with the subdivision process. as applied for in this application. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. And we'll do as much as possible as we can for the Siebert hearing, but that's something you might want to attend.
Yes,
Yes.
you will be.
Particularly if you call. No, I'm just joking. No, you'll be notified. I'm sure this was an oversight. They never miss somebody in notifications, particularly the person next door. So we're very sorry about that, but.
Did we notify people?
Yeah, we would next door. Okay. It wouldn't have been because it was a Fairfax County?
No.
No, okay. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
I would hope not.
All right, we'll move on to second order of new business, special use permit for the winter homeless shelter at 217 Gordon Road.
Madam Chair, members of
Yes.
the commission, this is a request for input from the Planning Commission as to the timeframe for the operation of the homeless shelter. This will be coming up to the BZA as a special use permit amendment, and there's interest to get the commission's take and opinion about the idea of having more flexibility than is presently permitted. Presently, the conditions of the use permit are that the shelter operates nights only between December 1 and March 31st, and there is interest in revising that to allow the shelter to open November 15th instead of December 1. So your thoughts about flexibility on this that could be conveyed to the Board of Zoning Appeals as a motion or an idea or suggestion would be appreciated.
Thank you, Mr.
There
Snyder.
is a report from Susan Richter of Housing and Human Services, and also Ms. G has been in touch with Human Services as well.
So do we need a motion on this, or just the sense of the commission?
I think the sense of the commission, and you could have a recommendation, you may want to discuss it in terms of what you think a proper date is.
Well, it sounds as though it has a lot of support outside of this commission, so let's discuss it. You want to talk about it, Melissa?
Well, yeah, I'd love to comment on, both of my Girl Scout troops make dinners for the winter shelter. They don't have full kitchen facilities if you haven't been there. It's more like a kitchenette, and so people in the community provide bag breakfast and a bag lunch and then a hot meal in the evening, and so I've been volunteering there for several years with my Girl Scout troops making dinners. And it's a really well-run shelter. I've toured it with the girls. We've been there when some of the residents are coming in, and they just do a really nice job. And I just don't see any downsides to allowing them to expand their operations. I would say, they're asking about November 15th. I would say even align it with the November 1st date, which is what the other area does for hypothermia. Why not just go ahead and align it right now? Because I could see them coming back in a couple years and saying, can we shift it again? And, but as far as I've never heard or read or talking with the volunteers there of any issues
problems
with them or the residents. You know, it's not in a residential area. It's you know, it's on Gordon Road. There's really, I mean, I've talked with a lot of the residents as we're coming out. They're very gracious. They thank the girls for making the food, and just, I don't see why we wouldn't do this.
No, I know the high school does a lot of work over there, helping out too. And I'm just grateful that it's going to be remaining there. I don't know how much longer or anything like that, but that was such a great concern that it might not be there anymore. And I think this is an absolute necessity.
Mr. Snyder, do you know why they didn't request it November 1st? Is there some kind of a restriction on the property?
I don't believe there's any restriction. I think, personally, I think November 1 makes a lot of sense, and perhaps some flexibility if you had a real snap of cold weather.
Right.
Right.
You know, the ability to make a change given circumstance. So I think, personally, I think November 1's a good date, and they can make decisions if they want to open later, but it gets cold sometimes earlier or later, and the weather is unpredictable, so November 1.
And we cooperate with the shelter up in Seven Corners area. So if that's November 1st.
Yeah, so I think the commission's support of the program and support of an earlier start date as early as November 1 or possibly earlier, depending if you had severe weather, I think would be welcomed.
Right.
Any further comments? Russ?
This seems obvious to me, so fully
Okay.
support the decision, and November 1st is okay with me. And my understanding is, do they have to staff it if no one shows up, or they staff it? I mean, by imposing the November 1st, we're not putting an undue burden on them, are we?
Oh, I hadn't thought of
I
that.
think that just allows them to open earlier if they want to.
If
Right,
they
right.
choose.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's giving them flexibility
So right now
to
they
do
can't open till
so should they
December 1.
need to or feel it's appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm fully supportive of giving them flexibility.
Yeah, the people who, work with the shelter, they do a magnificent job.
So the Board of Zoning Appeals is approving a resubmission or a renewal of the special use permit.
They're going to consider an amendment to the present conditions.
Oh, an
So
amendment,
presently, I
okay.
believe it says December 1 through March 31st, so
Right.
being able to change that and roll that operation back to as early as November 1 is something you could recommend.
Okay,
I believe it's on their upcoming agenda.
okay. Well, then I'd like to have someone offer a recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals that the Planning Commission supports flexibility of a November 1st to is it March, do they still want to go with the March 31st? Yes, I think so. Yes, it's just the December 1st date that they're trying to change, okay. Would someone like to make that recommendation so that we can all agree?
I think you just did a very nice job.
I don't think the chair is supposed to make recommendations.
But that's different than a motion.
Okay, well, if everybody
I
agrees.
really think that's a lot different than a motion that you can't make.
Okay,
Well,
yes, Melissa?
what I was going to say, I mean, we can basically say everything you said in
We
Linda's
agree
name,
with it.
And we agree with it.
Okay, all right, so we're agreeing to recommend to the BZA that they open the shelter on November 1st, anytime after November 1st, at their convenience.
That sounds good.
And it seems as though we have a unanimous approval of that.
We will convey that unanimous sense to the BZA staff and to the BZA.
I like to say that I agree, just because it includes Thanksgiving too, so I like that. I think that
Oh,
idea.
yes,
Yeah.
there was the other thing about staying open on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I think that's a good point.
So we're supporting the recommendation of the Housing and Human Services, right down the line.
We're happy.
Okay, so we will move on to other business. We have none, but we're going on to approval of the minutes of May 19th. Has everyone had time to read the minutes? Are there any corrections or amendments? Well, I do have something. It's in line 27, where it says, "She indicated the commissions had questions following the update." I don't think I knew that at the time. I think we should say
Could have.
could have or could make comments or ask questions following the update. And then I also noticed in the planning director's report, starting on line 141, we're talking about presenting the downtown area plan, bringing the draft plan to the commission on the 16th of June instead of today. Has that been changed? Why?
That would be the formal action, not the, this is the work session to talk about it ahead of time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's
What-
what we, that is still correct,
Yes, correct.
that schedule. Okay. Any further comments? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I so move.
I second.
Moved and second to approve the minutes as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will be abstaining.
Abstain, huh? We'll move on to the Planning Commission reports. Ms. Hockenberry, have you been to any meetings this week? Not yet.
Well, I was at the tree commission when they discussed
Oh, that was
this.
last week.
And EDA is tomorrow night, so, yeah, they're rolling in.
Rolling in. Mr. John,
None so far.
do you want to talk about the about the streetscape plan and?
Oh, yeah, sure. We had I think we had, it was last Planning Commission meeting. We had a meeting an hour before the Planning Commission meeting itself, and we discussed general streetscape for the city. One of the, I guess the idea is to review the general streetscape for the city, which would include sidewalks, lighting, landscaping, everything that has to do with the general streetscape, and especially the boxes that were created in front of Northgate, I believe.
Yes.
I think those are supposed to be stormwater boxes, and it's one of the things that we need to review to make sure that indeed the city should continue using them or not, whether they fulfill a function or aesthetically they have become a problem. So, but generally, the idea is to do an overview of the streetscape for the city and be able to come up with sort of a comprehensive plan to address what we have at the moment. I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if, Jim, you have anything to add to that?
Well, that's a good summary. We think this is appropriate time, particularly since mobility for all modes has now been approved as a framework for transportation planning in the city, and one of the follow-ups is the pedestrian aspect of things. Also, we have identified that we want to proceed with West Broad Street small area planning, which has a large area of Broad Street to be looked at. So streetscape is appropriate in terms of that context as well. So some of this will be looking at already approved plans, such as the Broad Street Streetscape Plan, which was done in great detail a number of years ago and has a lot of very good elements in it, and also the North Washington Street Plan, Streetscape Plan. See if we can look at what makes sense to keep, what makes sense to consider updating, and it could be done kind of in concert, I think, with the small area planning process that we are looking at. Because we have a large section of Broad Street between Little Falls and the bridge of the W&OD Trail that we would be looking at in this next plan area, and a lot of areas on Broad Street that don't have streetscape, and some that do. So there are missing pieces, and then there's existing pieces, and then there are unbuilt portions. So it's a good area, I think, to combine the two efforts. I know there's interest on the part of Public Works, the Tree Commission, CACT, and others. So multiple commissions will have, their issues that they'll want to talk about. And ultimately, I think whatever revisions are made need to take into account, a variety of concerns from the various constituencies.
Yeah, the tree commission is quite concerned about the tree wells and everything like that, because, one thing I hadn't thought about with the tree wells, the higher ones, is if they're on the roadside, it keeps the salt and stuff from plowing the wall, from the plows plowing the snow. And I'd never even thought of that.
Raise them up on the street side alone, then.
One issue we've heard a lot about is lighting, that a lot of people are concerned about the street lighting not being sufficient, not being enough, not being bright enough. There are new technologies. I think when the streetscape plan was initiated for Broad Street, sodium vapor was the most efficient lighting of the time. Now LED is making its way into the street lighting arena, if you will. and there's a big energy cost. So would we want to update the lighting standards? Because we're hoping to promote a lot of pedestrian activity, and we have heard complaints from people that in many cases, the streetlights aren't bright enough for them to feel safe.
Really? I'm surprised at that. All the years I've been going down Broad Street, I've never noticed that they weren't bright enough.
They're not
You
very
mean
bright.
for people walking, or?
And a lot of them are out all the time. That annoys me to death.
I
So
can
at any rate,
understand why you'd want to
yeah,
do it
yeah.
because of energy conservation, but I just never noticed that it was dark.
Some of the heads have aged and they're yellowed and don't transmit as much light as they might. The power sources are different. What should the proper spacing be? They range from one every 110 feet to less. So it's kind of trying to look at, well, what are the standards? What do we like? What do we think could be improved? Not to throw everything out, but to just do a review of what's there.
And would that be separate from the streetscape plan? Would it be separate from the streetscape plan, or?
Well, I think part of the
At the
notion
same
had
time.
been that we should take a look at the streetscape standards we have and see to what extent they need to be updated, and then suggest and make those changes. That could then those could be recommended as part of the update to the component related to the Mobility for All Modes plan.
But it's not likely that we would be redoing all the street lamps at the same time we were doing something new to the streetscape.
No, and this wouldn't be a capital issue. It would be, we wouldn't have a capital plan per se, but we'd be examining, say, are the standards we have adequate, or do they need to be upgraded? And what do we need to retrofit? In some cases, we need to build streetscape where we don't have it.
So in new developments, that we would require a different type of lighting.
We could, yes. I believe, for example, at Tinner Hill, I think they're planning to
Those
put
are
in
different.
LED lighting.
Right. Good. Madam Chair?
Yes.
We're talking about streetscape, and I know, I'm just a little concerned, probably more than a little, but I think our plantings along Broad Street and in the median square are just looking not good at all. And I know it's a budgetary issue, but there used to be so much more care for it, and I'm not impressed with the plantings in front of Northgate and that new strip at all.
Right.
They're puny.
Oh, you mean in the
In the
median?
median strip. I mean, that's about as unimpressive as it could come.
Well, they will grow,
Yeah, 3 or 4 years,
yeah.
but it looks like, right now, it doesn't look good.
Just one more thing to add. I think the whole idea is also to look at what is working in other jurisdictions, and then bring those ideas back to the city as well. So, as Mr. Snyder said, everybody would have the opportunity to be able to contribute to this discussion, once we get it going. I don't think we have a formal dates for meetings yet. But once those are set up, we'll let everybody know so everybody can attend those and give us input.
And I guess one of the questions there is which commissioners would like to participate? I think we heard from Paul Baldino, interest from CACT, and so at any rate, I think it's a good step forward to begin to look at these things. We could also have a work session at some point with the commission to talk about them in more detail when we've done more research.
We also might want to bring in is it the fire marshal who's always telling us we can't have certain plantings in front of things?
He did have, I know he did have concerns that where the hotel had the narrow frontage and they needed to be able to get to the FDC. So that is a concern. Sometimes we have bus stops too that you have to climb through the planter to get to the bus. That's not good. So there are instances where,
Still challenge.
yeah. So, and of course, we have a lot of overhead wires on key streets, and one of the things we might consider is having a long-term vision for which streets should eventually not have overhead wires. Trying to imagine out 50 years from now, would you really still want overhead wires and poles on Park and Great Falls and Maple and West, certain main streets, which have a lot of utilities on them, and frequently, you'll have damage that, from a sustainability point of view, becomes a problem because you lose power, things like that. So almost all the snow emergency routes, you'd want possibly to eventually be able to afford getting the wires underground. And that gives you more sidewalks and ability to plant trees and things like that, so.
Anything else?
No, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Anything on this end? Okay. So this will kind of segue into your report, Mr. Snyder.
Yes, thank you very much. You have our May monthly report in front of you. I want to thank Ms. G and the other staff for putting together the information. As I mentioned before, we're taking the last Wednesday of the month to do reporting and see what has happened the month before. I've got a number of items that I put down as top accomplishments. Some of these you're familiar with, but the Kensington Assisted Living Project was approved by City Council on the 27th of May. And it was a split vote. The actions included the special use permit, the special exception, removal of the MUR1 zone, and the related voluntary profit conditions that the Commission had approved earlier. Another major step forward, this is really our first big accomplishment on the comprehensive plan. The new format and the Mobility for All Modes plan framework was adopted unanimously with a lot of good words about the work and coordination of it, as a replacement for the transportation chapter of the comp plan. And that was unanimously adopted by City Council on May 27. And this brings us forward to, we had a lot of discussion with what was called the PED plan before. This, I think, moves a lot of things forward and sets a framework for other good work on the components of the plan related to transportation. On a personal note, we had Paul Stoddard received his master's degree in urban environmental planning, so I wanted to congratulate him. His capstone project was to look at the market for retail and other development here in the city of Falls Church. Also, we have a new hire, John Russell, started work today. He was hired last month as a new combination inspector in building safety, and he's very well qualified with a lot of certifications. He's coming from Longwood University, where he and his family have been living, where he did everything. He was kind of a one-man person doing inspections, plan review, and capital planning. Previously, he worked for the City of Alexandria and had a lot of experience doing major projects from PTO to T.C. Williams High School, historic buildings, and other projects. So we're very happy to have him up here. We did apply for a VML award for the Easter Seals CDC project. There's a very excellent write-up that was put together, which we can share with you, that went down to VML, Lauren Bruce, Garrison Kitt, Cindy Mester, and others worked on that. It's quite an interesting story, and of course the Commission played an important role in that in terms of guiding it, and it's your participation and support on a number of the key items. We did apply for a transportation and land use grant. It's a transportation land use connection that COG has. We've requested, I believe, $45,000 for a transportation study to follow up on whatever study is done out in the area that we've acquired near the West Falls Church Metro. We don't know if we'll get it or not, but we don't have funds to do that kind of study. So this would be a logical follow-on to the technical advisory panel that we hope to have in the fall through ULI and COG. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll get that. Also, I know a number of you were aware there was a really good event here in this room with City Council, Northern Virginia Regional Parks, and Fairfax County when the Tenorial Heritage Site was, all the documents were signed, and that is moving forward now as a key feature of the city. It's a long effort, A lot of boards, commissions, and departments have worked on it. It's been intergovernmental, interdepartmental, complex, and a very nice result. Cindy Mester, as you may know, put her heart and soul into this and was one of the prime reasons that this has gone forward. And of course, the Planning Commission was supportive of this through the South Washington Street Small Area Plan and through the 2232 review of this, and I know a number of you have taken a personal interest in it. The sign has been put up. I think the base is using the stone. There will be, I think, a gazebo that's built in the Fairfax County portion. So it's moving ahead. It's going to be an attractive use and an asset for the city and the county, and a very good example of intergovernmental cooperation. Also, we are doing the planning work for the West Broad Small Area Planning Kickoff Meeting. We're scheduling that for Saturday, June 21st, Columbia Baptist. This is similar to what we did last year for the downtown plan. We're trying to keep them moving so that we don't lose momentum, and our staff, Garrison Kit and others, can work on them over the summer, and we can in the fall and early winter have draft plans to present to the community and get additional feedback. So those are some of the top items. You've seen around town, of course, a lot of the construction going on. Holes are being dug, projects are moving forward, and so it's a busy time here in the city. Our staff is very busy and working hard. So with that, I'll stop for questions.
Time for the hotel. Let's just wonder.
I believe they're hoping to open in June. I don't have a date, but
They actually were working on a Saturday, which they haven't done very
it's
often.
coming along. Of course, there was it's been tough. We had a lot of bad weather. That's made it tough, but
They were
moving
working on
along.
Memorial Day, because
Yeah.
when you were in the parade, if you looked up there, they were actually
Yeah,
standing.
but
the
they
workers were standing
hadn't
up there
been doing
watching.
that straight along. The place looked deserted most of the time.
Well, I thought it was interesting as we were marching down that they were up there working and watching the parade.
Yeah, yeah. No, I saw them.
We have had a resubmission very recently on the subdivision that borders the Arlington city line. And
26th Street.
we've gotten those in, we're distributing them, we're waiting on comments. It's a 2-lot proposed subdivision, so it might be able to get to you as early as June 16th. We'll have to see if we can get all the comments back in time for that. So that's coming back to you with 2 fewer lots than before.
Good. Madam Chair, if there aren't any more questions for
I have
Mr. Stein. Okay.
Mr. Snyder, down on Cherry Street, towards Route 50, there is a big development that's going on that's being built by Avalon Bay, I believe.
Yeah, Avalon.
And I'm worried that, well, one, I'd like to know if Fairfax has shared any information with you on that. And then secondly, I think it's 400 and something units, or maybe apartment units or something like that, I'm not sure.
I don't know the exact number of units. It was a cooperative housing development built,
Right.
I think, around World War II. There had been a hope that it might be preserved, but the owners were purchased, all the co-op shares were purchased. I believe it was a by right development in the county. I don't have the exact numbers.
Yeah,
We
I'm
can get
worried
those.
about
It's a
the
very,
amount-
it's a large residential
Yes, it's a large residential development. I'm worried about the traffic that's going to be coming down Cherry Street.
Cherry Street.
And then Hillwood Avenue. And so the question that I have for you is there any way in which the county can share this information with us, and then we can look at their traffic mitigation plan for the residential neighborhood? Because we do share the same street.
We can certainly bring that up with Fairfax County. We have been trying to have quarterly, or I think we might be a little behind on that, but quarterly meetings with them to talk about shared issues. That was brought up earlier before construction started, so now is a good time to look into the the transportation aspects of it. It is a big project and a very big change from what was there.
Right, and I know that there was going to be another project right next to the fire station that didn't get approved. It's going to be quite a large project on the Arlington line.
Believe that what I'd heard was that project is going to become a very large self-storage facility by right.
Oh, that's disgusting, you know?
Well,
Yeah, right.
My understanding, talking to developers,
Welcome
that
to, you know, welcome to our view scape there.
well, maybe they'll put some big
Right
trees
along
in.
the, right along the trail.
they plan on, that's my understanding, I
It's always
haven't
the
talked to them
developer's
lately,
threat.
but
I'm
they
gonna put in a
plan on
car
building
lot.
a
What
self-storage
a waste
facility.
in a potentially beautiful area.
I noticed that you're giving a briefing to the Park and Recs on
Yes,
tomorrow.
we've been going, thank you for mentioning that, we've been going at request to the various groups. Deborah G. had a session with HARB and the Historic Commission on the Small Area Plan. We have been doing some work, as we had on Streetscape, on getting going on next chapter of the comp plan. This is Recreation and Parks. And we've had some internal meetings with Danny Schlitt and his staff. We're going to be going, I think it's Wednesday night, to talk with them about their issues and their concerns, and also brief them on and solicit their comments on the small area plan for downtown. One of the things that came up tonight that has been mentioned as we've talked about open space is the use, perhaps doing more here in the city with North Virginia Regional Conservation Trust, I guess it is, where properties can put open space into easements for preservation, get tax credits. I don't know whether this would have been something that the previous applicant on the subdivision that we just considered would have considered, but one of the challenges with historic properties is the cost of maintenance and then maintenance of large properties. And so the affordability of that and incentives to help make those things be able to be maintained, I think is an important consideration. Whether it's enough to keep them from being subdivided or not, I don't know. But that has been suggested as a technique that we might use more of.
Madam Chair, do you have any,
No, I'm
Okay.
I'm just thinking that we need to move so that we can get to a
Right.
small area.
the house over on Fulton Avenue?
Yes.
I had some people tell me that they thought that the garage was being built as a house.
No, there
I know
was a.
it's
yeah.
got
There was a large.
dormers on it.
There was a
and things like
large
that.
garage approved as a part of that plan that's under construction. And I believe
I drove by it the other day, and that's what I figured it had this, but could be a guest house, and so I was just concerned about that.
there is work inside there. I believe they've done close-in inspections. So a lot of the interior work is finishing up.
I remember the discussion about the garage. It was part of the owners who were considering buying it, so they wouldn't buy it unless they could get the garage. And we had a long discussion about if they should have the garage or not have the garage, and we ended up, because that was when we didn't realize that they were going to destroy most of the house, and
Oh, that's for sure.
so, oh well.
And there was a previous previous
I wish now we
short-
had not given them the garage, and then maybe we could have found someone who would have dealt with the house better.
There was a previous garage that was removed that was closer to, I think, Cedar Lane. Not as tall, but it was a rather large old garage. It was torn down.
Okay, well, if that's all,
I have
yes?
just a quick
Russ.
question. Is there an update on the daylighting on Howard Herman Park?
I believe they are going to be starting relatively soon. They may actually be talking about this at the work session tonight on the, what is it called? Cole
Pearson.
Branch
yeah.
work. That's going to be starting very soon. We also are looking, I believe the mayor wants to have a walking tour one evening. I believe it might be on a Tuesday evening. We'll let you know as it's in June, as we
Walking
get
tour of the
closer.
park?
wanting to look at the streetscape issues and downtown plan, and I don't believe it's next week, but possibly the following week on a Tuesday. They were trying to come up with different dates. We had looked to see if we couldn't have it coincide with the CACT meeting, but I believe it's, might be the 17th of June, a Tuesday.
So the expectation is that that park is going to start work in the month of June?
I believe they are
Okay.
going to be starting soon.
All right, thanks.
A lot of activity going on.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Motion is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.